We always kind of say like we want them to feel like they're like their dream holiday. Like they've booked a girls trip, they've found this amazing place on Airbnb, or they've booked this amazing resort, and they get there. It's like you want them to sort of be excited because they're young. They're either still at college or they've just finished, and so they don't have most of them don't have any money. So it's like it's their Pinterest board, it's their Instagram reel. It's kind of the places they see the celebrities going that they dream about. Like, oh my god, if we save up, or when I'm rich, I can do this.
Hey, welcome to the Unscripted Files. My name is Madeline Cunningham. I'm a development producer in the unscripted industry, bringing you candid conversations with the minds behind your favorite form of entertainment. Do I have a treat for you guys today? Just days ahead of the Love Island season premiere, I'm giving you an exclusive interview with the lead production designer. We talk everything from demolishing a villa to build a new one, all the way to the fabric choices to make sure that spray tan doesn't get everywhere, how they design the dressing rooms, the hideaway, soul ties. I mean, we get into the psychology of contestants, how you design around all of the hidden cameras, the tips and tricks that the Love Island UK team gave the USA team as they were getting going with the franchise. It is a phenomenal conversation. Anyone who loves Love Island is going to love it. If you love reality, you're going to find it incredibly interesting. Dare say, this was one of my favorite conversations because I love the show and I find the creativity and the scale of what they do on the show so fascinating. So here is my conversation with the production designer of Love Island USA, Richard Jensen. Please enjoy. Hey, Richard, welcome to the Unscripted Files. How's it going?
Good. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing really good and amazing now that I'm talking to you because honestly, I'm such a huge fan of all of the work you do. Love Island USA, Traitors, MasterChef, Bachelor in Paradise. I mean, just so much good work coming from you. And you're in Fiji right now, and you have been for a while ramping up for season 7 of Love Island USA. How long have you been on site prepping?
This is our 4th week here now. Yes, yeah. Maybe our 5th week actually, beginning of our 5th week. Yes, so we've been here for a minute already this year. So it's good to be back. Our first time ever coming back to the same villa in 7 seasons.
Interesting. Okay, so you typically have a new location that you've got to figure out and fabricate every single time. Wow.
Yeah. Not by choice, just by circumstance. We've always wanted a permanent home, and we finally have one. So it's exciting. It's been very different. It's been a new thing to wrap our heads around, but amazing.
Oh, I love it. And it was just announced today. This episode will drop right before what we now know is the premiere date of June 3rd. It was just announced a few hours ago. I don't know if you're aware.
There you go. No.
So June 3rd, it was just announced. We will all be just holding our breath until then. So you've been on site prepping for about 5 weeks now. How much longer will you be there?
We have another 3.5 weeks of prep. So we start shooting master interviews in about 10 days. And then after that, we do mock week, and then we start shooting. Yeah.
Amazing.
On June the 1st.
In real time, which is so, I forget that you guys do that. It is so wild. And we'll get into more of the logistics of how you design for that specifically. How big is your team?
It's big. This year, about 75 to 80 people. Yeah. But that's because the whole art department. So that's construction, paint, set dresses, greens, LED on this because there's so much LED and neon that sort of falls. I have a whole department of just LED people.
It's so crazy. The first episode of this podcast, I had the casting director, Quinn on, right?
Yeah.
And she said she dropped the number of how many people are on set at any given time, up to 800. And whenever I would ask people how many do you think is on set for Love Island? They always guessed 75 or 80. And the fact that is just in your team alone goes to show how enormous of a scope this show is and what it takes. I also think it's so easy. I was looking at your website. You have so many cool photos up before and after of this show, of Traitors. On rjjensen.com. I think it's so easy to take for granted that you actually start with like a blank slate. Like I think in
Yes.
your
Yeah.
mind, I think a lot of us like to think that these villas were already hip and cool and had the
Yeah.
neon lights. No way, dude. You are
We threw a
from
pillow in, painted a wall. It was
right.
done. Yeah, I wish.
No, I mean you're completely starting from scratch here.
Yeah, and that's actually why I started putting before and afters on the website because I think the assumption for most people who don't work in reality or don't work in this sort of this bigger scale reality is that yeah, we find this amazing location, we come in, we've got 3 days to throw some pillows around and paint a wall, and we're done.
Right.
But yeah, it's massive. It's not just the villa that has to be right. The house or the size of the house. It has like we have to consider neighbours, access. Like we've had lots of issues over the years within different locations. From all sorts of things about like why the villa doesn't work. So it's the bare minimum is that we have a space big enough for the villa itself, and then after that, it's like all the other production considerations as well. So it's always really, really time consuming and really, I feel so sorry for our location scouts. We look at so many places and we've gotten me and the EP and the sort of the core team has gotten very good at sort of going into a place and being like,
Kind of knowing, so you kind of feel
yes,
like you can know right off the bat if it is going to work or not.
yes, yeah, you get a pretty good sense pretty quickly where you're going like, okay, we're just going to be nice because the owners have taken time out of their day
Sure.
to show us around. So we'll
Yeah.
make nice, and they're always lovely people. So, be friendly, be nice, get in and don't waste as much of their time as
Right.
possible and get out quickly. And then, but it's also going in and seeing for my job, going in and seeing like, okay, this place might be a dump or it might be nothing ever looks like us. It might not look anything like us, but I can see visually like how it can become us. Does it have just a room big enough that we can convert that to something else? And how easy is it for my builders to like be able to cover a facade of that? Our season 4 Santa Barbara series was like a 1920s, you know, Riviera style,
Wow.
house in Santa
Hmm.
Barbara that we saw literally none of, but it had nice sized rooms. And actually, well, not even enough rooms. We then had to build a bedroom off to the side of the house on the car park area. But yeah, it had space. It had space and no neighbors. And it had its own private beach and had production facilities. So like everything else was perfect except the villa. And so it was like, well, I can make the villa work. I can build something new on top of that villa to to give us what we want.
Again, I think that's what it's hard to realize because when we're watching it, I don't know, it feels so authentic
Yeah.
that it's hard to believe that most of the outdoor space is completely fabricated and built out. Like that was
Yes.
not part of
Yeah.
the initial villa. All of those spaces, the fire pit, the all the little nooks and crannies,
Yeah.
you're basically just using the bones and the blueprint of the space
Yes.
and you're
Yeah.
building within it for the dressing room, for the bedrooms.
Exactly.
The hideaway is its own complete
Yes.
fabrication.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Everything. And
All
then
all our favorite parts of it.
because of how we shoot as well, we've got real cams on big heads that are in camera hides, which we try and make look not like camera hides so they don't look so obvious. But then there's 80 or so robo cams around the villa and they all have cables and there's audio cables and there's like cables everywhere. But we build fake walls not only to give us that look, but also to hide all of that infrastructure so that the cast don't see it either. So that because it's important that they don't feel like they're on a set, that they don't feel like they're in a studio or that that it's all fake. They, I think it helps their experience if they can forget. If they sort of enter the villa and assume it's all real as well. And they don't see behind the wall to see the 300 cables running through there and where everyone has access.
Exactly.
So it helps their experience.
Totally. Well, and that's what I feel like really sets Love Island apart from a lot of other dating shows is the 80 plus, cameras that feel native to the environment, an
Yeah,
environment that looks incredible, but also is comfortable for everyone. Like they're there for the entire summer, an environment where
yeah,
people can get cozy, explore relationships, be physical, be emotional. And
yeah.
so being able to, create all of that and then have it be functional again with all of the
Yes, yeah,
unsexy like wires and stuff, I'm sure
yes, yeah.
is such an interesting challenge at this point in the process. You've been there for 4 or 5 weeks, you have about the same left. What are kind of the biggest challenges you're facing right now?
Today, shipping.
What today? We can only talk
Today,
about today's
yes,
challenges.
yes. Well, the last 2 days challenge is shipping, which is always a challenge
Oh man.
because we're always somewhere else. We're never, we're never in LA or like a capital city. So everything always has to travel us. We're now in Fiji, so we have to ship everything in, and we use a lot of local stuff, but the big like plexiglass, that we can't get here, which we use a lot of, acrylic. Things like that, fabrics, all that kind of thing. We ship in, and I sent a container from the 3rd of March from LA, and we found out 2 days ago, it just hit Australia,
Oh,
and
8 weeks later.
it's on its way here. It should be here, maybe, hopefully, 2 or 3 days before we start shooting, which is clearly not ideal because we have to build it. So yeah, like we're trying to work out the logistics of how we may have to buy the plexi again and air freight it in, which is a nightmare and an expense that we don't want or can afford. But yeah, that's constant. There's always, like you said, that's today's challenge.
Right.
Yeah, there's always something unexpected.
Of course.
It's the thing with film and TV. It's like you can do the show 7 times and it's something different every year that surprises you.
Yes.
About,
I mean, do
yeah.
you get nervous anymore? Do you stay awake at night anymore? Or have you figured out a way to know that you and your team are going to figure it out?
Yeah, I certainly have, I think, a lot less sleepless nights than I used to. I remember like the very first show I ever art directed, I think it was Farmer Wants a Wife. I'd been
Ah, so good.
I'd been set decorating, and the series producer that I'd just done a show with, we got along really well, and she was getting her sort of first co-EP role, and so I think she was like wanting me to come with her, and yeah, I remember like, and it was tiny. Like I look back now, and it was like a tiny little show. It was like there was like 3 of us. It was like teeny tiny, but like staying up until like 1 o'clock in the morning, like hand cutting the bits of paper to put inside the lanterns so they were like nice and filtered, like doing all that yourself. And because it was just so like trying to think of everything. And now it's like, it's so much easier when you have a team and a team that you have worked with and can trust and do good work and know how you think and what your expectations are. But yes, but also just now the experience of going like, okay, cool. I can see things further ahead more so I can plan things better. And yeah, certainly have a lot less sleepless nights, but still a lot of nights without sleep because we're
I
here.
was going to say sleepless nights for different reasons.
For different reasons, yes. We're like, this show is, we're say like, it's not the hardest show in the world to make, but it is the most relentless. It's 7 days a week for 6 weeks straight. We film from anywhere from 7 in the morning till 5 in the morning. Sometimes by the end of the 6 weeks, nice little pile.
I was going to say, is it all love on the island after 6 weeks, or is everyone like, goodbye?
It's like I said, I've been working, well, especially since we've been in Fiji, this is our 3rd year in Fiji. So I've had probably 95% of the crew for the last 3 years for me. So they're a really like amazing bunch. And yeah, I try to only surround myself with good people who are good at their job, but people who are just good people.
Totally.
Because we spend way too much time together to deal with ourselves.
Yeah. Well, it's just important to be positive, to be fun to be around. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
totally.
all of that is so critical on set.
Yes.
When you're looking to build out your team. Like that's incredibly important to you as well, because
Absolutely.
You're right. It is just such a monster, this show. This Love Island USA, it started in the UK. How did you, when starting in the USA, Love Island is such a familiar brand. It's such an iconic brand. The colors, theme song, like everything about it, it was kind of established. But how did you sort of keep within the Love Island brand while giving it that like American edge? How were your decisions influenced?
It was very much season 1, especially where we were all new to it. And I think we probably pushed it a little too far. I think we've sort of all talked about it since and can all agree that we probably pushed too far to make it our own. So we kind of ran before we could walk. I think it still looked really good, but didn't look as much like Love Island. And so season 2, we kind of did a reset and kind of deep dived into the Love Island world, which I think really worked for us. I think for viewers as well. I think it made us, it's such a recognizable, like you turn on the TV, you know what show you're watching, which is always, I think, the sign of a good design. Like a strong brand is that you don't even need to hear anything, or you just like catch a visual and you're like, oh, that's fun.
Exactly.
So yeah, so I think when season two, when we sort of went back, into the Love Island world, and there are a lot of, it's a format around the world, and like all formats,
Yeah.
they have like, their representatives who are like, this is how we do it, this is how we do this. Yeah, and like very strict color palette. It was always a strong word, no red in the Love Island villa, and we did that for years. We now no longer do that, but yeah, and I think it was just adding. I think the main thing I focused on, like we use those colors, but I think we added more texture and like texture in fabrics, texture on the walls, like adding more pattern. I feel like the UK version originally, and they're evolving as well, as as everyone does, was always very like block colors and very simple.
Right.
Yeah, so we sort of always sort of had more texture and pattern in there, which is just something that I like
Yes,
as a designer.
a lot of peel and stick wallpaper. Like the palm, I'm just looking at like the girls' dressing room, like the palm trees. There's always like the greenery with the flowers on the
Yes,
walls,
yes,
like even the bar stools are,
yeah,
covered in a pattern. So
yeah, yeah,
a lot of just like visual interest
yeah, yeah.
constantly. And then which does feel very honestly like USA American. We're very busy in a sense,
Yes. Well, yeah,
don't you
yeah.
think?
Yes. I think American design embraces more like pattern and wallpaper and stuff, I think in general. Yeah. So yeah, I think it feels like, it's kind of, fresh and light and colorful. So yeah, we always kind of say like, we want them to feel like they're like their dream holiday. Like they booked a girls trip. They've found this amazing place on Airbnb and they get there, or they've booked this amazing resort, and they get there. It's like, you want them to sort of be excited because they're young. They're like, most of them
They're
are like young.
young.
They're young. They're either still at college or they've just finished, and so they don't have most of them don't have any money. So it's like it's their Pinterest board, it's their Instagram reel. It's kind of the places they see the celebrities going that they dream about. Like, oh my god, if we save up, or when I'm rich, I can do this. This should be that experience for them. That sort of dream destination, that dream holiday, that fantasy where they can like take 1,000 photos and like fill the gram with it and annoy everybody with how many pictures they're posting of their holiday. That's the feeling that I want to give them when they walk in, that like this is like a super exciting, amazing place that they're like feel really lucky to be in, which kind of comes back to your question before about how they, having to design to live in the villa. Yeah, it's like it needs to be comfortable for them. Like the beds need to be comfortable. The fridges need to work. They need to be able to, brush their teeth without having to walk over there. It's like it's just really simple things that make them feel like they're somewhere real. Yeah, and that life is good and life is easy, and this is kind of they're living the dream.
Right. And the only thing that they have to worry about, aside from their suntan,
Yeah,
is like it's the connection. But again, I think that is what sets the show apart, and it is how genuine and authentic it feels, how these cast members are able to sort of sink into the experience effortlessly, find
yeah,
themselves on a dream vacation, and you crafting an environment that feels that way, where they feel lucky, they feel
yes,
excited, it
yeah,
feels lush and elevated. I think like those feelings, those are heightened emotions, right? Those are
yes, yeah, yeah,
type of, oh, I'm lucky to experience this, I'm excited. That's a prime environment to be
yeah,
flirty, to find love.
yes,
And so if it
yes,
was a place that, fell below those standards, it doesn't
yeah.
exactly, it's not really a
Or it
fertile
takes you out.
ground.
It takes
Right.
you
And
out
it's
of your experience, and
totally,
that's what we try really hard to get rid of. And like I remember at the end of last year, knowing for the first time that we were coming back here, going in on like the last day into like the girls' dressing room and having a chat with them and being like, if you were to come back, what could we do better? What would make this
oh,
easier for you? What would make that better for you? Because for the first time, we could tweak what already exists. And same with the boys, and just like how just living, like not the relationships, not that, but just living in the house, living in the
yeah.
villa. how how can we make that like enhance that experience for you? Sort of having that chat and sort of getting a few pointers from the people who actually, because we see them and I've got my crew there sort of interacting and like fixing things and doing things as we go. But yeah, it's like it's a very different experience for them because they're in it.
Right. Well, how valuable
Yeah,
to get that feedback as well
yeah,
and
yeah,
be
it was great.
able to sort of, again, functionally adjust. I'm always I was like, I know there's women on the design team for that girl's dressing room because it just is the dream. Like it's like getting ready with a whole bunch of women
Yes.
for like a fun night of flirting is just
Yeah.
like it's so incredible in the way that it's set up to where they can all like still see each other as they're
Yeah.
getting ready, like and can continue conversations. Like it's so fun to see.
Yeah.
It's just such
And
a
that,
fun show to
yeah.
watch.
And that room is beautiful this year because it's got all the natural light. It's got like the big windows, so there's like natural
Mhm.
light as well as their sort of, their face lights and our studio lighting that's in there as well. But yeah, so it's certainly our dream one as well. Like we've had so many different versions of it in different configurations and like different scales that we're sort of stuck with depending on the villa that we're in. So yeah, to be able to design it from scratch and build the room to the size that we actually want the room, it was like amazing.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. When it comes to collaboration, obviously, this is such a massive show. When it
Yeah.
comes to collaboration with the showrunners, your
Mhm.
department, even challenge teams, like all of the different pieces, what is sort of your collaborative process and
Yeah.
communication with all of those different parties to ensure that, again, you're aligning with what is an incredibly established brand?
Yeah. Our showrunner is incredible. Ben Desiree Palmer, he's amazing. So very like creative, hardworking, like so talented, and a great collaborator. And we most days we'll be zooming each other, talking. Yeah, so it's very much a collaboration. The design process is very much a collaboration with him. Yes, where we sort of working through the things that we've sort of seen in the last year and new inspiration for both of us, and trying to see what works in the villa. And so yeah, so that's just constant, like every day tweaking with him. And then I've got my set design team who also, I work with every day. Same thing. We sort of meet every day and then we operate through Slack. So they're sort of
Ah,
sending me updates through Slack all day. Yes, because we're spread out. Three set designers in LA. I've been in Australia. Ben's EP's in LA. Previously, like one of our render guys is in Texas. Yeah, we've people everywhere,
yeah.
which is easy to do now. Yeah. And then same with Challenge Team. Challenge Team is on and they've got people, I think in South Africa, Singapore, and Australia at the moment. Yeah, my challenge producer is out of South Africa, so she's been in South Africa. She's now here. So yeah, so it's a lot of zooming and sometimes at not pleasant times to make things work. There's a lot of like,
Right.
yep, I'll be on that Zoom at 5 a.m.
Yep.
because that's how we're gonna have to make it work. So yeah, lots of early morning Zoom calls and just constant talking and sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How far you talked about renderings? I wanted to talk about this
yeah,
too again because I love seeing the ones on your website. So you work with an artist who's doing these renderings for you. How far in advance are you guys working on this?
we start traditionally. I start beginning of January, so I think we started January 4
Okay.
this year with me and the set design team, which we foolishly thought would be quicker this year because the building
Because you're
existed,
going
and it's
back
like,
to the same
oh,
place.
yeah, how wrong I was. Yeah, like we literally only had the villa officially 100% signed off 3 weeks ago.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, master interview is pretty much signed off as of yesterday. Waiting for final sign off from network today. Yeah, so we try and get ahead of things, but things slow you down.
Right.
Um, but yeah, and we like obviously large elements of things that have been finished, but there's always like like still just trying to get that last bit right. Often it's the hideaway. Hideaway is always the last thing to be finished. Yeah, for some reason it's always the sort of the last one.
So every season, you're always trying to do something a little different. So how are you when you're presenting, back in January and February, you're presenting these new ideas? Are you typically going, okay, we can do option A, option B, option C? Like how are you sort of presenting?
Yeah,
Here's how we're going to do the hideaway, the exterior. Here's how we're going to freshen up the entryway based on what we learned last year. Like what is your
yeah,
approach to sort of that initial setting the tone for the new season when it comes to your ideas?
yeah. Well, normally it would be yes. He's a new deck of like references. Is some if we're in a new location, like what is there that we maybe want to reflect, like when we're in Hawaii, we kind of did a little graphic on one of the big walls that was kind of and in it, Santa Barbara, we kind of leaned into a little bit of that Riviera sort of style of Santa Barbara. But so there's a little bit of that, so bringing those elements in and bringing whatever we sort of learned from the year before that we liked and want to keep going with or what we didn't like. So it's, ditching that. So yeah, so it normally starts with some mood board and reference and a discussion around those and where people's heads are at creatively, like from the producing team, if they've got an element that they want to bring in this like a new twist on something that they need a new space for,
Like a
or
format
just
element, a new format
yeah,
element.
exactly, a format element. Like getting After Sun last year. So that was like a whole new set that came on quite late. Yeah. So it starts with those. And then, yeah, like this year when we were back in the same villa, yeah, me and the design team kind of worked through, I think like the first deck we presented, I think had like 8 or 10 different options for like, this is what the fire pit could look like this year.
Wow.
This is like one of those,
Who would
like
have thought
the
there's
big,
so many different
oh my
ways
God,
to fire pit?
there's been about 57 versions this year already.
Goodness.
So because it's giving people something to react to.
Right.
Yeah, to be like, oh, and it could be just like they react to it, but it's like, oh, I just like that element, but maybe we could move that over there. And you sort of, just, it's something to start the discussion, just to prompt the creativity for everyone.
Right. Well, it's so much easier than like just going, what do you want? It's so much easier for people.
Yes.
I think it's, to visually have an example and go, love that, don't like that, combine
Yes,
A, B,
exactly.
and C,
Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly,
the fire pit, a location of all, all of the major moments. So it's a very important decision. I understand the
It
hang up.
is.
I
Yeah.
get it.
We live there a lot. Yeah.
Talked about this a little bit about the design challenges with kind of the hidden cameras and the cords, but what are some other challenges specific to building sets where contestants are like roaming freely and there's not choreography and you have to kind of be ready for anything? How are you figuring that out to ensure that this environment is ready for anything?
Yeah. And I think we've evolved as well. I remember in season 1, we were like talking to the UK team and they were giving us some hints and tips. And I remember them telling us like, oh, you've got to be like, all your doors are self-closing. So you can never leave a door open, because when the door's open, it's highly likely there's a camera and it's blocking. And they had like people who had figured out like, oh, if I open my wardrobe door and leave it ajar, that camera can't see me. So we can go in behind there and make out and you can't see.
Oh, tricky.
Because they're sneaky.
Yes.
Yes. So like that was like from the season 1. So every door anywhere in the villa is self-closing, so that, and all that. And then so straight away from then, I think from season 2 was like, well, I'm just going to use sliding doors on wardrobes, because we were trying to rig little kind of, springs to sort of, make sure that wardrobe doors were closing, and it was a nightmare.
Well, and also like soft close, so they're not loud and they're not messing with the audio.
Yes. Yeah, all of that. Yeah, so simple things like that. And then when you get into dressing, even like, I remember the first few seasons, because I like lamps, and they're always like, nice ways to add texture and layer. And we just kept cutting the lamps, because inevitably the sort of lamp on a console table or a lamp, like the floor lamp in a corner, it ends up being around the height of a camera. And so suddenly they'd be panning across and half your frame would be blocked because there's a lamp there. So all of those things that, when you're, as a designer, when you're normally like designing a room and looking at a room and you want to add texture and layer that your sort of go-tos, you kind of can't use, or you have to be very careful about how you use them, because you don't know that camera needs full range. So their main shot might be sort of here, but they'll pan and suddenly something really important is happening there, and I've got a potted plant there, and it's, they're suddenly you're looking at them through this.
Right.
So and that's why we do a mock week, which is such a luxury and such an amazing thing.
Tell me more about that.
We have a pretend cast come in. We have people come in and live in the villa for 3 days.
Amazing.
And we film them and we treat it like, regular, like the regular cast, to see how they interact with the set, to see things that we haven't tested, especially, because it's normally all brand new. You go, oh my God, I didn't think that they would go through there. I didn't think that they would use the kitchen like this or the bathroom like that. So it's a chance for every department to sort of see what's working, we spend a lot of time that week going around and going like, oh, we can actually see a cable there now in shot. It's like someone hiding that, adding more greens and like more and more greens to like hide cables, and trimming branches, trimming things to sort of, stop blocking shots. So yeah, it's a really incredibly valuable time. And often, as much as we try every year to have this fantasy that like, and the villa will be 100% ready and it'll
Of
be
course.
perfect, and they're only making tweaks. There's always because they goes through all the posts, so the whole thing gets edited, music gets
Oh,
like it's a because it's a
a,
test for
it's a
post as
full
well.
dress rehearsal.
It's a full dress rehearsal. We
Wow.
deliver two. I think we deliver two episodes to network to review.
Okay. That
Yeah,
is a
so it sort of
luxury.
tests. It's
Whew.
incredible. Because normally you're making those mistakes on air. Like,
Exactly.
you're often on some shows where you haven't had enough lead time, or for whatever reason,
Hmm.
you're watching first episodes and you're like, oh God, it's just your stomach's turning because you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that wall still needs work and that still needs tweaking, and you'll sort of madly kind of get it done whilst you're also shooting. So, which we still do here, but by that point, we've had a good run at it. So it's really, really fine tweaking that we should be
Right.
doing once
Are you
we're.
bringing in, I can imagine you don't just want anybody doing mock week as far as the cast. Like I'm assuming these are probably
Yes,
people who've probably gone pretty far in the casting process
yes,
and
yeah,
maybe just didn't make the final cut.
yeah, and we have, yeah, they're normally people who didn't make the cut, who didn't, for whatever reason. But we have had people who do mock week and producer be like, oh my God, they are actually amazing, and they come on the show. They end up
Nice.
on the show. Yeah, it's happened multiple times, which is great that it has actually happened. It's not something that we go like, oh, look, if you do really well, maybe
Right.
you'll better get on the show,
Yes.
which is bullshit that you would normally think. It's like it actually happens. So I think that helps them invest in that because we need them to invest in the experience
Totally.
and not to be like, this isn't working. Can someone just come and fix this?
Right.
We need them to like live in that moment and and be in it as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, and they make out, which always blows my mind.
Ooh, what a fun little fling. I was going to
It
say,
always
like,
it always blows my mind that people in the podcast make out.
I
It's like, well, why
love
not? They're
that.
on holidays. They're hot.
Right.
Like they're
Well,
into
and
it.
again, a bit like another testament to how immersive the experience is just
Yeah,
for that limited amount of time that they like feel the
yeah,
freedom and fun to do that. I always think about the fabrics because I'm
yeah,
thinking spray tan, sunscreen, makeup, like all of
yes,
these
all
things,
of it,
especially in the outdoor
all of it.
fabrics. So, like, what kind of performance fabrics are you guys messing with in order to not only for them to look good, but they genuinely have to be durable?
Yes, yes. So we pretty much exclusively where we can, we are 100% outdoor fabric all the time because it tends to be more robust
Hmm.
and a little more white clean. We then coat it all with, I don't know what the product is.
Like a
Yeah,
protective, like,
yeah, some protective
yeah.
product, both for water repellent because, Fiji is wet. We were crazy lucky last year, and I think we literally did not have a single wet day. But like season one in Fiji, we didn't have a single dry day. So you never know what you're going to get. But yes, so it needs to be. And like, the fire pit is a marine vinyl so that if it has been raining, we'll hold and be like, okay, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Let's wipe it down, dry it off, get everyone on the fire pit.
Lights on.
Time, it's time to start, kids. Because, we'll just keep them having chats in the dry areas until we can shoot there. So yes, lots of fabric protection, lots of outdoor fabric. Yeah, yeah, because it's the spray tan is a killer. It's
Yeah. Well,
if someone,
everyone always looks so good. I mean,
yeah,
and so I'm just like, I just know like there are substances
yeah,
getting everywhere, and I never see a booty print or a
yes,
swipe of
yeah, yeah,
spray tan anywhere, right? Like
yeah. We've got
I never
lots
see
of
it.
spot cleaner, lots of.
Yes.
We bought a new little carpet cleaning machine this year to try and sort of because the girls' dressing room carpet was a light pink last year and it just got decimated by like some dropping stuff like makeup all over it. So yeah, we do what we can, and the Villa team that I have is incredible, and they are on it.
I love that.
Yeah, and like post challenge is the other one. Like they've had a
Oof.
challenge where they're all covered in slime or holly powder.
Paint. Yeah.
Oh my God, and I'm always those ones are, and obviously I know they're coming up, so it's like right, producers are briefed, all the Villa teams briefed, because we normally when they come back into the Villa, they've all then got a beach hut to talk about the challenge, and it's normally like they come back and they'll have a food break, and so they'll be eating, so we sort of separate them so they don't talk to each other. Yeah, we'll break up the groups over and put out towels so they're sitting on the towels, or if they because they're only sort of thinking they're up in beach hut, if they're covered in slime, we'll sort of wash them down on the bottom half and keep the top half dirty. So
Right.
yeah, to try and because I'm always like, not the villa.
No, because
Like,
they
no,
get, and
don't
I
sit
mean, some of
there.
those challenges will like
Oh,
annihilate.
disgusting. Yeah,
Like, I mean, ketchup, mustard. Like, I mean, I've just seen some
all of it,
crazy stuff. So yes,
all of it.
again, and the villa is always pristine, and I know that's a very
Yeah.
hardworking crew in the
Yes.
background.
Yes. Yes, it
There's
is.
so many production design elements on Love Island that these spaces become characters in and of themselves. They
Yeah.
symbolize something, right? So we've got the fire pit, elimination, serious conversations, the day beds, the kitchen where,
Yeah.
the boys, if they choose to make a cheese toasty
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
or an avocado
I'm
toast in
making avocado
America.
toast. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, like that is symbolic. We've got obviously the dressing room, soul ties, all of
Soul ties is
these.
crazy.
Soul ties is crazy. I love how you guys took that from like a previous
Yeah.
season and adapted it because it
Yeah.
was so
Yeah. Yeah.
iconic.
Yeah.
I can't, I mean, knowing like season 6 was so iconic, and obviously there's a spinoff now we know. And so
Yes. Yes.
I'm so curious to see if there's any sort of elements adapted from that iconic season. But how do how do you approach designing different spaces to sort of symbolize the progressive stages in a relationship?
Yeah. And I think firstly, you never know what that the breakout space is going to be. Like we never Soul Ties was just a you know just another space, and it was designed as a space of like, okay, we want somewhere where I want to have a more private chat with you that I don't want everyone because the villa is designed so you can see all the chat, so we can be talking over here, but we can see them
I
talking
can
over there,
see
so
that
we can
you've
talk
pulled
about them.
them.
So yes, so we you want that visual interaction both for camera and for them, so they can be like, what? Sorry, who? They can
Hmm.
clock those conversations as they're happening. But then we were talking about, but we want somewhere where we can go and feel like no one can see us, so that we can, you know, show our true feelings, maybe cross a line that we wouldn't cross in front of everybody else. But that people can still kind of sort of see you going there, but not really see what's happening. So yeah, that was
It
kind
can
of the
start a ripple at
yes,
least.
that was the genesis of why we sort of developed that sort of soul ties area. It's like somewhere that for them feels very private. So because it is the villa is very on display, yeah, trying to find that area where they can have what they think of as a private moment, which is what the doc kind of
I
became.
was going to say the dock was kind of the
Yeah,
new
yeah,
one.
which once again everyone can see it, but it's further out. It's around the corner from like the main sort of hangout area of the villa. So it feels very intimate and private. And then obviously we had situations where that was busted, where they girls came out on the balcony and they can look straight down at it because
Hmm.
it's not actually private, but because you're so far away and it's a little darker over there, yeah, they suddenly feel like they could have very private conversations.
Hmm.
Um,
There's
yeah,
an
and have
element of
intimacy
like
there.
of romance there as well. Like I
Yeah,
feel like
totally.
when there's
Water lapping underneath you on the dock.
yeah, there's like when a guy's trying to make a little like kind of like cute romantic move. And that's again,
Yeah,
that's part of why I love Love Island so much is there's like a built-in lexicon in the series
yeah,
where pulling for a chat isn't pulling for a chat. Like there's like everything has
yes,
its own meaning. The dock, the balcony, and so sort of underlining that with how you design the space to feel cozy, to feel
yes,
intimate,
yeah,
is so interesting. How do you
yeah,
design, sort of along these lines with the contestant psychology in mind? You're talking about soul ties. You want it to feel a little like you're in a little,
yeah,
cozy private area, but what are some
yeah.
other areas of the villa that you're really paying attention to how they're going to act in the space and how they hopefully are going to interact with each other?
Yeah, and I think like last year for the bedroom, once again, because I built the villa from scratch. The bedroom was we used to have, I think in one season, 2 seasons, we had like an actual boys' dressing room, and then we kind of moved on from that and sort of just put them back in the bedroom. But then they would just sort of hang out on the bed. So we sort of built out last year like a lounge area at the end, somewhere that they can get ready and have what the girls have, where like they get to sit around and and chit chat and hang out and tell each other what's going on. So yeah, so building out that area more, and then we were kind of noticing that they were still hanging out on the beds, and then I kind of clocked that it's because that's where the mirrors are. So now that is where the mirrors are. and everyone likes to look at themselves when they're getting
Of
ready.
course.
Uh, and yes, so that's like this year we've now got mirrors down that end by the couch to encourage them to kind of come down and hang out in that couch area. So it's kind of reading like what what I what I feel like, oh well, if it was me, I'd want to use the space, I'd want to sit in the couch area. But then like in the reality of the space and how they're using it and how what their priority is, like they need to look good when they go out there because well, A, they're on TV, but also more importantly for them in their heads, it's like, well, I'm going, I know my girl's upstairs
The
for
girls
4
are out
hours
there.
looking
Right.
like working really hard to look good. I need to like, step it up as well. So yeah, the boys will try on like 7 different outfits and they might end up in the same thing every time, but they'll try on lots of outfits. Um, yeah. Yeah.
I want to see
So
more of the guys getting ready. I gotta see, like, I love seeing the girls, but I think guys are
yeah,
can be equally as
yeah.
funny. And I
Well,
love,
they also started playing games last year, like, because they had a ping pong table last year,
right,
which is great, like, because, everyone, it was like became a real hub area where everyone, because we wanted something like, they do, there's a lot of, to spend there here 24 hours a day. So there's a lot of like sitting areas and places to chat, but it's like, it's nice to have an area where you can physically, especially for like the whole psychology of guys. Remember, like we always used to say on The Bachelor, it's like this, some bachelors need an activity. They're not good at they're not good at a sit and chat. Like if you
right.
plonk them down and there's just a cheese plate in front of them and they're having a talk, they get nervous, they stumble, they sort of like can't think of anything to say. Whereas if they're rowing a boat or they're flying a kite or they're doing an activity, they forget that they're, having a chat and they just, becomes more natural. So that was kind of the psychology behind like, oh, let's give them like a physical activity to
Something
do.
to do with their hands.
Yeah, something to do and distract them. And then they can just be having fun and chatting and, have a more natural conversation and a different energy comes out of it. Like, if we're playing tables together, we might, am I competitive? Are you like, do you give up? Just you see different sides of people when they play games.
Yeah,
But yeah, the boys started
totally.
pulling out the bed ends and would bring the ping pong bats into the bedroom and set up a pretend ping pong table just with the bedside tables.
It is. I mean, well, it's just, again, these contestants don't have their phones. Like they're literally they're existing. So being able to add a
They don't know
different,
what time of day it is.
right, exactly. Being able to add a different dynamic in that you're not just doing it to do it, you're doing it to bring out a different side of them. You're doing it
Yeah.
to bring out a different maybe piece of their personality so that we can see all of it because they're forming romantic relationships. So we want to see the serious side, but we want to see playful. We want to see all these different things. And so I like how intentional each space is in sort of trying to access a part of that person and like a part of their personality.
Yeah. Well, it's like in the real world, if they've gone on, 4 dates with someone, you don't go to dinner every time. You might go, you might go to a movie. You might go and watch the ball game. You might, go roller skating down at Venice Beach, whatever it is. It's like you mix it up, and so you interact differently with people in the real world. So it's trying to bring some of that, into this as well.
Right. Last year, I want to talk about season 6 just a little bit. Were there any sort of favorite moments from season 6 of like interactions with the space or things that happen? You've mentioned a few that you were just like delighted by, that you were like just so happy with.
I was always happy when they finally made it into the Rizza room. They had this beautiful interior lounge room. And we had, like I said, we had amazing weather. And we always we never really have had, previous to coming to Fiji, we never really had an interior lounge space, interior hangout space, because we're such a outdoor show. And we were so worried about the weather, and getting rainy days. So, I built out this beautiful big lounge area and we never used it. I feel like it took me weeks before we got in there. So that was a highlight for me personally. when I saw them, oh my God, they're finally in that room.
That's why we were rooting for the hideaway. You're like,
well, I know, I was saying
I
last
spent
year.
all that time. It took a while.
It was the most beautiful hideaway. It was like my favorite ever. It was actually these curtains were in there.
Yes.
That was so beautiful. They had this beautiful wallpaper. And yeah, that'd be like, oh, okay, I think we'd have our daily meeting. Like, okay, tonight, hideaway's on. We've got this happening, and then, we'll probably do this. And then, we'll either nominate someone for the hideaway or they'll choose someone. And it's great. My team would go in there, turn the spa on, get everything all
excited
prepped and get all excited. And then be like, it just, stuff just kept happening.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff kept happening. And they're like, oh my God, we're like, didn't even get close to getting to that point because this happened and that exploded and this happened. And yeah, so it just, which is an amazing problem to have
Yes.
people like giving you so much great content that you don't need to throw format points at them to move things along.
Exactly.
Yes, but I would have liked to have seen it more.
Are there any, I know you can't share too much, but
Yes.
what are you excited about this next season? What fresh elements, what sort of
Yeah,
any Easter eggs? What are you excited about?
we've got two like brand new areas,
Lovely.
which yeah, will be really interesting to see. Once again, to see we've we've tried predicted what we think people will do in these spaces, and how we think they'll use them. And even our thinking has evolved with one of them, especially. It's like, oh, I think it'll just be for this. And then it's like, oh, actually, why wouldn't we open it up more and, be able to use it for more things? So yeah, there's two new spots that will hopefully be really fun and that they'll really like. Uh,
Oh, that's so much fun.
yeah.
Okay, with our last few minutes, I want to back it up because I mean, you have
Yeah.
such an incredible career. I mean, how did you get into production design? Like, what is your sort of
Um,
entry point story?
yeah, I came quite late. I sort of had a bit of a like, oh, I want to change things up. Um, my late 20s. And I was always interested in design and always loved design. And so I was like, oh, maybe I want to be an interior designer. And a lot of friends in film, and I was kind of around film and TV. Um, and I was like, so maybe like art department. And a friend of mine was an art director, and she was working on this little low budget Australian film. And she was like, well, do you want to come in and be our intern? I was like, sure. So I basically went and I worked for $10 a day. So I was covered by insurance. And it was a like really small team on this like little Aussie film. And they were amazing because they all knew I was there, like, working for free. Um, which doesn't always guarantee people will be nice to you. But yeah, everyone was incredible and took me under their wing. And just, there's a set dresser who just, took me everywhere, showed me all of the places he shopped and showed me like, yeah, and I still now work with to this day. He arrives in like a week and a half to Fiji.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I did that and just instantly loved it. And just everything about it clicked. Just the people and just the immediacy of it. And sort of, how quickly I kind of, sometimes it's a nightmare how quickly things moves, but it's also amazing because it's like you don't sit on a problem for 6 months, which I'm sure in real world interior design you do. Yeah, you sort of, you just get it done and move on. So yeah, so I started in scripted, and then, you know, by from that job got recommended. Someone was looking for a show on Biggest Loser. They were looking for like, PAs on that. And they were like, we've had this guy, he's amazing. I went on to that. And then within a couple of weeks, I was there, etc. So, and then it just kind of, yeah, snowballed from there. And so, yeah, so I was set dressing and then set decorating and then art directing. And then, yeah, eventually production designing. So yeah, it's been an amazing kind of, journey for me, like, how, all the different shows I've gotten to work on, the travel that comes with that, like, shooting, like we shot MasterChef in New York and shot at the United Nations, like
Amazing.
crazy. Like that show in Australia we kind of reformatted it. It was a UK format. It was a tiny little like afternoon cooking show that we supersized into a 6 episodes a week, monster of a cooking show that everyone
Whoa.
thought like prime time cooking show before anyone did prime time cooking shows, and it was really expensive, and everyone thought that the network was going to go bankrupt because they invested so much in it, and it turned out to be still, I think, the highest rating show in Australian television history. Our season 1
Wow.
finale was like, just, when you're working on a show, you have no idea. Like you're like,
No.
oh, this is good, or this is like, but
Right.
you've got no idea what people are going to respond to, and that one was like a complete surprise. And by the time we were like catching up with ourselves by the time, because I think the first series was something like 50 something episodes. So we knew it was becoming popular whilst we were still filming at the end. Yeah, but yeah, that showed we got amazing access. We shot with the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama was a judge for us, which is just crazy. Like, the producers would come in with these amazing ideas and everyone would be like, that's ridiculous. And then it would happen
And
because
then it would
everyone
happen.
wanted to be part of us, like internationally. Like, yeah, it was incredible. I did that for 4 years and it was a pretty incredible 4 years. Exhausting. Like it's a relentless show. But yeah, because I think by the end we were doing 92 episodes a series, and then
Oh
we'd go
my
straight
lord.
into the spin-off, straight into a spin-off series of Mischief Kids. So yeah, it was literally a full-time job. I'd have 2 weeks off at Christmas, 2 weeks off at Easter between series, and that was it. It was, yeah, it was
That's a
a lot,
monster.
but it
That's a
was
monster. What's your favorite room or build you've ever done? Like, does one sort of stick out to you?
I mean, this last year was pretty incredible
Season
experience,
six.
and one season 6, yeah, just because we had been moving every year to different countries, different states, different, like, so we finally found a resort. We um had taken a long-term lease on it, and I demolished a building.
Crazy.
Still kind of fills me with terror that what we actually did and what we achieved. That was last. We're talking about sleepless nights. That last year was a lot of sleepless nights
Mm.
where I was like, because we normally come in and we cover a building, which is very different, and we might add new bits. But yeah, we came in and it was a resort with a big pool and the like big restaurant area, and we literally demolished it and had to build. Like, I was working with architects, and we sort of designed it and then gave it to architects and said, "Can you make this to code, because it needs to be, cyclone, like hurricane proof. It's a
Wait, so you
proper
built the
legit
existing
building
villa from the ground up, the one that you're using again?
from the ground up. Literally, it was, yeah, we
Whoa.
knocked down the building that was here and built it from scratch. And we only, in 2 months, which I think anywhere in the world is amazing, but in Fiji is particularly amazing, like working with a local construction company, who are amazing, just to get us, trying to, when you work in our industry, you're used to crazy timelines. And then whenever, in any country, whenever you have to deal with an outside vendors, it's like, oh, I need to get a plumber in to fix this. And they're like, in your real world, it's like they might come in 3 weeks' time, and they say they're coming at 1 and they come at 5. And like,
Right?
we can't operate like that in our world,
No.
and we don't in our little sphere. But when you have to deal with outside vendors, so it was really nerve-wracking having to put my trust in other people that
Sure.
like weren't
Outside
my
of the
people.
industry.
Yes, yeah,
With no
outside of our bubble,
urgency.
with no urgency and no
Right.
sense of like,
Who've
no,
never
no,
heard of Love Island. Like,
yes, yeah,
who don't
exactly.
care.
Yeah. No, this should be ready in 4 weeks. It's like, no, it has to be ready in 4 weeks. The word should cannot exist. It has to be ready. Like, I don't know how much more firmly I can put that, but it's like, if this is not ready, we all lose our jobs and no one is paying your bill because we don't have a show.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah. So we had like 2 months to build the building and then 2 months to build the set on top of the building. But it's that whole, like, designing a structure that allows us to be flexible. So designing something with big balconies, with rain cover, and just really large rooms, which is what we did this year. We've taken one large room and divided into two to sort of recreate 2 areas this year. Like, give us that flexibility to keep moving and growing as a show, whilst sort of having some sense of permanency as well. So
Well, I
yeah,
mean, and what
that's
it's you should be proud of last season. I mean, so I didn't even know that piece of context, but
right.
then you
Yeah.
layer on the lightning in a bottle cast. You layer in
Yes.
Ariana, you layer in the cast, and it just 900 million views. It hit almost 1 billion views. I mean, that doesn't happen anymore.
No.
And
No.
so,
Yeah.
I mean,
It doesn't happen to us.
I mean, it's just a wild, it's an incredible feat. Yeah, I last season, like you said, was just lightning in a bottle, and I'm sure season 7 will be no different. Is there a misconception about production design in reality TV that you like hear about a lot, or when you tell people what you do, you're like, no, that's not exactly what I do? Is there any misconceptions about what you do you'd like to clear up?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's what we spoke about before, that, we paint a wall and throw a pillow in and you're done. I think it's if people knew the extent of the lengths we go to how much work is behind it, how much thought is behind it, how, like, just how actually, like, in detail and intensity is. Yeah, I think it blows their mind. Even my mum visited set last year. She came over.
The
She came over to
parents.
Fiji.
Okay,
Because
I want to know.
they never know
I was
what
going
you
to say,
do.
does your mom like have any idea? Because
I think
my
parents never know.
parents,
It's such a weird
they
industry, and
don't.
it's such a hard thing to wrap your head around. I remember my mum coming to set which is always nice. And she like over the years, like I remember her coming. She was she I think twice she came to two bachelor houses, and the bachelor wasn't as big a build out as this. Sometimes they were, but um yeah, so it's like you just get to go around a big fancy house. Uh, yeah, like she just couldn't quite wrap her head around it. She's like, because I think she came three-quarters of the way through the build where she could see like a lot of things finished, but then all of the, you could see behind the wall still, and you could see like what was there originally, and you could see, yeah. So that sort of nice phase where you can really see where things have come from and where they're going. Yeah. So yeah, I think it would blow people's minds if they could see where we started and where we end, and the amount of time and people and talent and energy and creativity it takes from all of those departments, not just art department, from the lighting guys and the sound guys. And it's, we're working with all of those so that, we're hiding all their marks. We're hiding everything so that, we can create this world that people can live in and forget as much as possible, as much as you can, forget that, none of it's real.
Right. And unfortunately, I think an innate part of our job is never making the viewer think about how much work must have gone into it.
Yes, and you don't want them to. Yeah.
If you notice
yes,
the lot with the
out.
set, it takes you out. So unfortunately, our job is to not make
pretend
people
we were never there
about about what we do. And what you said about the parents, I was in town a couple of weeks ago, and my dad goes, I was trying to talk to my friends at work about what you do, and he just goes, what do you do? Like, can you explain it to me? And I told him, and he goes, yeah, but how do you make money? And and he's like, and you don't have an office. Like, it's so trying to explain in the entertainment industry, trying to explain to your parents is so funny to me, because you can be on the most iconic show ever and you're still like having to walk them through it. I love it. I mean, listen, I think Love Island must be the dream project, but is there a dream project, scripted or unscripted, that you'd love to work on?
I don't think there's anyone. What would be fun would be like, and there's a few of them coming out now, like when they did Squid Games and taking a scripted format and flipping it into reality format.
Yes.
And it's that thing of like, it's not, by no means is it easy. Like the set for Squid Games, the drama is amazing. But then having to take that and like, okay, now live in it. Like actually live in it. Like it's a very different set. It's a very different set of considerations. It's a different world, which is, why they got a reality production designer to design that set rather than just going, because I think a lot of people probably assumed, oh, well, they probably use the same sets, or they use but it's like, no, it's a very different skill set. Yeah. Same as I couldn't now walk in and design a film, even with all my experience, because I haven't done that for so long. It's a different skill set.
Right. And a lot of adapting IP right now. So there's a Willy Wonka game show on Netflix.
Yes, yeah. Which my friends are making, which is very exciting.
Lovely. And then like Monopoly, like all of these, we saw it with Barbie. I think Barbie was really kind of the major like IP play that made us all go, oh yeah. But I think even adapting, big IP plays like that into game shows seems daunting, but really fun.
Yeah. I think there's something fun about that, having an existing world that is already recognizable. So you've got that, but then you're like, okay, how do I now make that livable? And how do I make and how do I, extend that world into like, the frames that you see, in a drama into a world that you actually have to live in. Like how does that actually intersect to there? How do I get from there and there? What's in between?
What scripted shows are you loving right now? Are you I mean, I know that you're busy working, but are you watching anything in your downtime? Anything that you just love?
I've just finished that we loved. I'm watching You at the moment, the final series of You. Yeah. That's why I watched an episode of that last night. I can kind of manage one episode sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, which is kind of nice being in like, wealthy New York City, back in New York City. I always love a drama that has like, fabulous New York townhouses and.
Yes.
Yeah. So
the studio, I'm trying to think of what else. The studio is really fun.
I started watching that, and then, because that's weekly, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yes.
I think.
Did you watch Severance?
The first look.
My husband finished
Severance. Yes.
Okay, I'm asking because the set design, the world is so crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. And I really, I liked it, and then I think I got busy. I didn't have the headspace, and I'd like to keep persisting. So
It's heady.
I never actually finished season one. And yes, and now I feel like I'd have to go back and watch it all again to like remember it to get to the apparently the last episode, which makes it worthwhile. But yeah, I mean, it was like the design on that is it's tricky as it's so stark. It's which is always hard. Maybe a little easier in scripted world to have like stark sets whenever I've so many sets we've designed and they're like, oh, we just want it really like cool and sexy and like just a big white room and like one light there. And then you get there and then, four cameramen are saying like, can I get something in the back of my shot? Can you move something there? And suddenly it's a hot mess of different designs.
Yeah, it's not so simple. Yeah, Severance,
it's
I
not
get
so
it.
simple.
It's heady. It like really you have no choice but to think and contemplate, but the aesthetic choices in it are really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
it's a beautiful looking show. Like a very, and once again for a drama, very distinctive. Like you're
Mhm.
watching Severance.
Yeah, but let's
Yeah.
not make a game show out of that one. Probably
No.
not a. That's just our
Not a
daily
crowd
life.
pleaser.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, last final fun question. Snog, marry, pie. Okay, I picked 3 shows that you're a part of: Love Island, The Traitors, The Bachelor.
I mean, I think you'd have to snog Love Island because they're the hottest. And then you would probably marry a bachelor because, they're solid. They're a little bit older. They're maybe more dependable. And then you can't trust a traitor. You got to pay them. You'll snog them and they'll just stab you in the back.
Exactly. I love that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And even, I mean, we didn't get into Traitors, but I looked at the before and afters, even of those sets. And again, just completely
and that was like
underestimated the builds for those.
Yes. Yeah. And that was we got lucky with that location in a lot of ways. It was like this old 1910, 1920s hotel out in the mountains outside of Sydney, up in the hills outside of Sydney. And yeah, and obviously the UK US one was in the castle, which is so distinctive and such a personality. And so the network has the castle in their head, and there's not a lot of castles in Australia. So yeah, trying to find something that can give you that gravitas. And it's nice there because it's like, it is up in the hills. And so it is misty. So like the surround is really beautiful. But yeah, and that hotel had like really lovely owners, and they were, I think they had recently purchased it and were slowly starting to do renovations to sort of, bring it up, but it was a little tired. And so it was funny I was trying to work with them to let them do things to the building that maybe they would want to keep.
Right.
So that they could get permission to do stuff because it's like an old building as well. So it's kind of like, I was designing for 2 people. There's like trying to like get something that the owners would like and that the network would like and the producers would like, so that they could, so that we wouldn't have to spend money then taking it all back again at the end, because you can spend a lot of your budget putting things back, like, creating, what we think is like making this beautiful room and then painting it back to white at the end.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was looking at is, Traitors is so typically very warm, wood tone, rich. This hotel is white, babe. Like it is white walls, white columns. So you truly had to completely fabricate all the built-ins and all of these amazing sort of old school finishes. And they had that one amazing, they had that beautiful room that existed, the sort of ballroom, which had all the stained glass. So we just made that like with such a beautiful feature to like, you would spend a lot of money trying to create that. And so it's like, well, let's, take that and then just enhance it and sort of add to it and build in all the big old bookcases to make it feel like, not just a hotel ballroom, but wild.
Yeah, that was a fun show. Yeah.
Would you want to be a traitor or a faithful? Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I think you'd want to be a traitor. Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
For
right.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's a shame. It was a really good series in Australia. But just, it
did it not get past the first season?
Yeah. Well, it did 2 seasons.
Okay.
But yeah, and I think it didn't rate very well in the first season, but the network believed in it, and everyone, like the people who did watch the show, loved it. And so they sort of, God bless them, like went for a second season, but just never hit the zeitgeist.
Do you think,
like it has everywhere else.
Culturally there's something about like Australia that like made it just not click?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just, how like, I think reality TV goes through like, everyone wants a cooking show, everyone watches a dating show, where Australia is at the moment in their sort of, like Married at First Sight is the biggest show in Australia
Ah,
at the
yes.
moment and has been for years. And so there's now lots of, like Married at First Sight, not rip-offs, but kind of, things that are more like relationship and like dramatic relationship shows. There's some new formats in Australia that they're sort of building on that. But yeah, like Traders, just didn't, unfortunately, because
Oh, it's such a good
it was
show.
good. It was a good series. Yeah. I mean,
This past,
I love the US one. It's like
I was gonna
so.
say,
I
gosh,
just love how camp it is. Like Alan is amazing.
yes,
And
yes,
our network EP makes that as well. Yes, yeah.
fantastic. Oh, I love
Sharon.
it.
So yeah, that's her baby as well.
Oh, so amazing talking to you again. One of my favorite shows, all of our favorite shows, like I said, just so successful. And that is because of the work that you and your team do. So we are really looking forward to the new season coming out on June 3rd, and we will be watching it every single day for the rest of the summer,
Excellent.
listening to that iconic theme song, and really excited to see some of the new spaces that you've built in.
Yes, keep an eye out.
And some of those like fresh new pieces. But thank you so much for joining me and for sharing. And like I said, super excited to tune in just a few days.
Okay, thanks. Nice to chat.
Thanks, Richard.
Thanks.
How fun was that? We are now just days away from Love Island USA, and I will be so tuned in on June 3rd. I really encourage you guys to visit rjjensen.com because he does provide a ton of before and afters of his sets, and it really does give you a much more realistic idea of how much work goes into building these environments. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I learned so much. I was so invested. It was such a treat for me. We have one more episode left this season next week, and then we'll be taking a little bit of a summer break. So thanks so much for listening. Don't forget, like, subscribe, rate, review, and we will see you one more week left on The Unscripted Files. The Unscripted Files is brought to you by Good Gravity Entertainment. Thank you to producer Bonnie Adams, original music by composer William Wright, artwork by Lisa Schweikert, and photography by Reid Schick.